This episode of The Twisted 10 was recorded before the COVID pandemic. And welcome to another episode of The Twisted 10.
What's good?
What's happening? I'm Adam. I'm gonna spoil it. I'm your host tonight. Sitting over on the couches. I got my boy Ron. I got my boy Josh. What's up, fellas?
What's going on, man?
What's up?
I said my boy.
My boy.
My boy.
My boy, Blue.
Trying to play some street cred like I'm less than 40, but that's all right.
Like you're less than 40. Under 40?
Under 40? Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that what less than 40 would
Yeah, but is that really how it's said? I think under 40 would be
Did you know what he was
proper
trying to say?
vernacular.
What if I said under the hill?
Oh,
That was a good one.
look at my big words.
Ron's wearing his big boy pants tonight. Look at you go. So we just got off a good week. So Ron hit us last week with his top 10 list. What was your top 10 list on, Ron?
It's been so long, I've forgotten. It was top 10 ancient birth control methods.
That's right. So I went up to Andrea and started talking to her a little bit about some of those, and she wants to try the onion thing, dude. I don't even really remember what the onion details were. She have to sit on some onions or something, but she wants to try that. So I guess we're gonna try that after this baby is born.
She's also down for olive oil spermicide lube.
Yeah, I am too, but not the same way. I want the actress that played Olive Oil to come over here. She's probably pretty old now, isn't she?
I would imagine so, or not even alive.
No, sorry,
Well, she's
I'm
probably
still game.
alive. Yeah,
I'd be all right. I'd be game for that.
Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mature. You would like some extra virgin matured olive oil.
I would.
Yes.
I would like that. She was a little too skinny for my taste, though.
Oh boy, she was skin and bone. She was the perfect, olive oil.
Yeah, she was the perfect olive oil.
Yes.
That's very true.
I can't believe they found somebody that was so perfectly looked like a cartoon that was just made to look like, obviously things in cartoons are so ridiculously exaggerated. How they found somebody who so perfectly fit that. I mean, only we keep saying her. I don't know her name. I guess maybe one of us could look it up at some point. We can ask Alexa. I'm sure she won't know.
We can give her.
Hey, Alexa, who played Olive Oil in the movie Popeye?
Olive Oil was played by Shelley Duvall in the 1980 film
there we go.
Popeye.
She did it.
Thank
Shelley.
you. Finally, she
Shelley
gives us an
Duvall.
answer. Shelley Duvall, who was in The Shining. I think we mentioned that before. Yeah.
Shining. Shining was a good movie. We need to revisit and do another top 10 movies list. I'd like to bring over maybe one of our friends from Orlando, like Rocky Soka or something, to do another, or Chris Crespo or something, to do another movies list.
Cool.
Those are fun.
Man, Crespo, what was his name? Cinema
Crespediso is his
Man,
podcast. Yeah, he has.
Crespediso.
So this is a hell of a plug for Cinema Crespediso podcast, but he has something that's really cool. And you guys, if you're movie watchers, you should do it. He has something called the Crespo 100, and it is over the course of a year. He has 100 movies that he has selected, and you have to go and watch all 100 of those movies. And once you've done that, you have earned your title of the Crespo 100. It's really fucking brilliant marketing piece to him, and you get to experience cool movies that he's put together. Everything ranging from dramas to, comedies to sci-fis to thrillers to horrors to everything. Oh, speaking of horrors, if you haven't watched...
Speaking of horrors...
My fucking brain's all over the place. If you haven't watched Netflix's Dracula, I think it's 6 or 7 episode run. It's not like multiple series. It's just one season, one and done kind of thing. Holy shit, it's fucking good. Watch it. It is a modern day monster scary horror flick like back in the 50s. I mean, it is so fucking good. I cannot stress it enough. Go watch Dracula.
Never even heard of it.
See, I'm still kind of hung up on the idea that I have enough free time to watch 100 movies in a year.
The second you said that, I'm like, I'm out. I'm not watching 100 movies in a year.
I'll never have that title.
I might not watch 100 movies in the next 5 years.
What if it was 100 pornos?
Well, how long are the pornos?
You only have a week, though.
Oh,
you do it?
I fucking got that. I did that yesterday. What are you talking about?
Can I skip forward?
Oh, yeah, you have to.
To the good stuff?
What if you took out all of the sex in a porno and just watched it for the plot?
There'd be like 4 movies.
It'd be a bunch of trailers.
They'd also be. It would also be all the porns from the 80s as well.
Be everything you would watch on Skinamax as a kid.
Yeah, do they even make like porno movies with plots and script and stuff anymore? Like that's not really a thing right now. It's just sex scenes that
I'm gonna fuck my stepmom, her to her.
Yeah, that's so gross.
But that's like a thing now.
It's like
Why? It's not even like a thing. It's like
it's
thing.
not just
my stepbrother, my brother.
It's incest.
Like,
it's incestual porn.
Why
stuff
is that something anyone is into? But it must be because it's like flooded with it.
So it has to be because it's so taboo.
Yeah,
it's the only thing that makes sense.
It's taboo and it hasn't been like banned. That's what it is. It hasn't been. I'm sure there's a lot of taboo things that, for whatever reason, probably aren't allowed to be put onto the internet. I imagine there are some kind of rules. That just have to see it from you have to just see it from the dark web.
I mean, about the
something.
only thing I think that they would literally ban from happening is anything that relates. Anything related to any kind of minor situations. So
what about bestiality? What about necrophilia? I mean, I've never seen any of that.
You can tie somebody up, and you can beat them, and do whatever you want with them.
But it's all fake. That's not real.
As long as it's consensual. No, exactly.
All right, so if a corpse can consent, then it can be.
I say,
here, sign this.
But it's like you draw the point. Like it's non-consent. Can a minor give consent? They cannot. Can an animal give a consent? They cannot. Can a corpse give a consent?
Do me.
So I guess until your in-laws can't give consent, that's totally going to be the thing.
I guess.
Is that? Yeah, that's a good point. Wow, look at. Are you like a porn producer or something? How do you know?
Not yet. Not yet.
He's the porn Gandhi, is what he is.
Nice.
Philosophizing over pornography.
So does it?
Confucius say, Josh Frucius say, man who sit in strawberry patch get ass and jam.
Yes. Man who go to bed with itchy butt wake up with stinky finger.
Man who going through airport terminal sideways going to Bangkok.
Nice. Very
Come on,
good.
keep them coming.
I don't. That's it. That's all I have.
Man who go to bed with sex problem on mind, wake up with solution in hand.
Yes, I believe I actually gave you that one years ago.
Maybe I don't.
Does any of this stuff we're talking about have anything to do with your list?
I'm trying to find a way to, dude. I'm trying to find a way to tangent this. And
is there a segue in here?
There's no way. All right, so I'll do my best on the segue.
Tentacle porn.
Let's say who do you know?
What did you say?
Do you know who
Tentacle?
Do you know who Confucius was?
Do I know who he was?
Yeah. Are you familiar with the details behind Confucius? Do you know Confucius?
Absolutely. Don't even know that he's a real person. I think he is.
There you go. Would you say that this theme song may have something to do with Confucius? Oh, is it throwing back a little bit of memories?
Is this porn music? Oh, no. Okay.
Maybe.
From the 80s, yeah.
This would be really weird porn music.
There's definitely not consent.
Where did the condom go? I put it on. He pulled out. It wasn't there. Find out on Unsolved Mystery.
Oh, you got it. There you go. Yes. All right. So yeah, this is that's just simply the theme music to Unsolved Mysteries. Which again, this is not a top 10 list on Unsolved Mysteries. However, on Unsolved Mysteries show from my childhood, they often dealt with a lot of, I don't know, how would you say, UFOs.
Nice.
And what are now called UAPs. Do you guys know what the acronym for UAP is?
No,
That's the official new acronym for UFOs.
You kind of said that earlier, and I didn't ask.
UAP is Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. UAP. That's a new term given in 2019 by, I'm pretty sure it was the Navy, or maybe it was the Air Force, I don't know, whatever. One of the government officials for the United States renamed them to UAPs.
Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon.
Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. So this top 10 list is going to be a top 10 list dealing with a lot of things UFO related and UAP related, as well as some alien theories. So we're going really out there, a little sci-fi meets some experiences in the real world. Now, none of these are stories that you're going to hear are debunked yet. So nothing in here is something that's obviously debunked. There's one or two things in here that are maybe could fall in the lines of possibly being fake, but again, nothing that's been proven wrong.
Maybe, possibly.
Maybe, possibly.
The whole freaking list. No, I'm just kidding.
How much experience do you guys have with the UFO community as a whole? Like our friends over in Hysteria 51 podcast, I'm going to give them a little bit of a plug because they've got such a great show, and their show often deals around that kind of phenomenon, the extraterrestrial kind of presences and things like that. But what about you guys? Have you guys had any experiences with UFOs, UAPs, this kind of stuff?
I think the only thing that I have like ghost stories from a kid, which obviously is a different sort of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's in the same zeitgeist, sort of, so it's paranormal. But yeah. How about you, Ron?
Nah, not really. I mean, our buddy Tach, he's big into this shit, man.
I know. Tach is going to be fucking throwing stuff around his house and say, these motherfuckers did this episode and I'm not there.
Yeah, he's big into this shit. And you know another guy who's like super, super big into all this
Jimmy?
stuff? I don't know him personally, obviously, but I've heard him interviewed and talked about Dan Aykroyd. Holy shit.
Well, Dan Aykroyd, ironically, is not in this list. However, Dan Aykroyd has had experiences with Men in Black, too. So he's told some pretty interesting stories. Ironically, another podcast is pretty popular.
Men in Black, like, you know...
Not the
Will
Will Smith.
MIBs. Oh, like that Men in Black?
Not the Will Smith version. But
okay.
The purportedly real Men in Black. So
there's like supposed to be, but okay. Again, when you say the real Men in Black, is it still like the Will Smith shit?
So sort of, yes.
Okay.
It's men who supposedly show up after alien sightings and abductions to do interviews. They wear cool sunglasses and wave around a flashy wand, and then you don't remember anything after that. All right, the second part of that was made up, but you get the point. Yes, those types of people have been purportedly to existed. Now, no government agency has ever claimed, the Men in Black work for this agency, but supposedly they're out there. And you know what? They're probably listening to us right now.
I mean, I believe it. The CIA hired a remote viewer to
stare at goats.
Look at Mars. Yeah, it was Mars. They hired someone to remote. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Hey, didn't we just launch the first, the start of the Space Force, right?
It's not that we launched it, but the bases here and stuff are changing.
That's amazing.
It's a real thing now. It is the Space Force now. So we're talking about renaming the bases themselves as well.
So both Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and Patrick Air Force Base, which Patrick is further south in the Space Center, but it is a space support base currently. They help to do some of the stuff for Kennedy Space Center and Air Force Station up here. Both of those will be officially renamed to Space Force Bases in the future. That's awesome.
They're going to get new names, but instead of Space Command, which is what we had here, it's the Space Force Command.
That's fucking cool. That's exciting, man.
What's going on now?
That's really exciting.
Interesting.
And then we're going to discover a planet full of bugs, and we're all going to go up and fight them, right? What movie is that from?
Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
I got one.
I'm sorry.
I would have also accepted Ender's Game as a good alternative answer to that question.
I've never seen either.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I've never seen.
Your first two movies, or three movies in this case, are Ender's Game and Starship Troopers 2.
So you know what? If I had a list of every person said the first thing you need to watch it'd be that 100 movies that supposedly someone's gonna watch.
Crespo 100.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though. Starship Troopers. That's like a dick and fart space marine silly movie.
It's good. It's funny.
It's good, but it's a comedy. Ender's Game is not a comedy. It's very entertaining. It's very sci-fi. It's a very different feel. If I had to pick one out of those two, Ender's Game, you'll walk away with emotions.
And the Ender's Game twist, and I will not spoil for our listeners or for Ron, but the Ender's Game twist is so perplexingly cool. It's as good as realizing that he was dead the whole time in Sixth Sense.
Yeah,
it's that good. It's that good of a twist at the end.
Cool, definitely. Oh, okay. Orson Scott Card wrote Ender's Game. I thought that book sounded familiar.
All right.
He's a pretty popular author.
All right, so let's get back to this. Are you guys familiar with MUFON?
No.
MUFON.
Move on to the first one. Sorry. If you had said that in the middle, it'd have been better to say move on to the next one.
That would have been good.
Yeah.
All right, so MUFON is, we'll go through the acronym in here in just a second. MUFON officially began in May 31st, 1969. At that time, it was known as the Midwest UFO Network. As it outgrew its Midwestern state boundaries to become a world-class UFO organization, the name was changed to Mutual Bank Indemnity Company. No, Mutual UFO Network, allowing acronym MUFON to still stand. Basically, MUFON is the only the longest lasting UFO and UAP now organization that is a conglomerate of information, and they're funded and they have lots of employees. I mean, it's a legitimate organization. Granted, some people are skeptical of them, to include some people in Congress and the White House. They're skeptical of MUFON. However, MUFON does have good mission statements and good agendas.
They're funded how again? They're funded by the government, or no?
I'll get through this a little bit.
Okay.
No. They're definitely not funded through the government. They're a 501c3 charity or whatever the numbers are. They are definitely not funded by the government. They are a charity. Around the same time as them funding or founding, many official and amateur organizations began to pop up to study some of the same scope of work. The U.S. Air Force had an organization. You guys probably would not know much about this stuff. They had an organization called Project Blue Book to fund official studies into these strange phenomena. Again, all around, all of these sightings starting to occur. Are they real? Are they not? Is there any legitimacy? The government actually put a lot of money into finding out some of those
That would make sense.
Yeah. By June of 1974, so we've moved on from 69 to 74, MUFON's growth had been phenomenal, with the state section representatives in 38 of the 50 states, along with the growth of MUFON. It became obvious there was a need for growth in cooperation between MUFON and other organizations like Project Blue Book. So they built up these relationships with these other UFO and, alien types of groups all the way up to, more present days. In 1994, Robert Bigelow suggested working with a coalition of U.S. UFO organizations comprised of MUFON, the Center of UFO Studies, or CUFOS, interesting one, and the Fund for UFO Research, or FUFOR. God, these acronyms. By 1995, the groups, this is the last little piece of this. By 1995, the groups involved had formed the UFO Research Coalition, or URC, and they have continued working together on several very successful projects, including the Ambient Monitoring Project, aimed at measuring environmental changes during ongoing abduction experiences. These guys are actually taking barometric readings at locations where abductions are supposedly happening and discovering things that are actually different than normal locations. So it's pretty interesting to recap. Some of this top 10 list that I'm going to read was derived from MUFON's website and from some of the research and their documentation they've done over the years. They're actually a really good company for organizing material about their investigations. So it's not a lot of hearsay. It's a lot of, here are the facts, here's what we found, here's what we speculate, which could be very speculative in that section, and so forth. All right, MUFON is currently the oldest, largest. These are just some facts about them. They're the oldest and largest UFO organization in the world, and the only one that has a corporate office with full-time staff, has a distinguished board of directors. Again, this is about watching fucking UFOs, guys. So they have boards of directors and millions of dollars that go through them to do all this stuff. Publishes a journal, holds annual international UFO symposiums to educate the public. They have over 4,000 membership core. That's like citizens, like you, me, everybody else. Probably Tach. Have captured UFO case management systems, over 100,000 UFO cases. The list goes on and on. So they've even got underwater dive teams to go down and look for shit underwater. So that...
Hey, Underwater. That's a movie coming out about underwater aliens. I think it's out right now.
Underwater aliens?
It's called Underwater.
Really?
It's like more of a horror version of Abyss is what it looks like on the advertisement.
Sweet.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool.
I like that.
It's with Kristen Stewart, whoever...
Don't look at me, man.
Did you just say Chris's sister?
Kristen Stewart, the girl from Twilight, right? Is that right?
I don't know her name. I'm sorry.
Yes. I mean, I've never seen Twilight, so I wouldn't know. Anyway, continue on with your list.
Busted. All right. So I've always been, on a personal note for you guys, I've always had a nice little fascination and hobby of really researching and seeing the shit that comes out. And 2019, this last year for us, was... worldwide speaking, was a huge year for UFO activity. Not only for just like sightings, but also for revelations of things that have happened.
Yes.
This list is going to talk about some of those things. So let's get started. These first few are going to be actual sightings. And again, these are things that have not been proven to be like debunked. They have not been countered.
Oh, so what you said wasn't one of them? It was like a prologue?
All the MUFON stuff was just the organization, like the U.S.-based organization that has a lot of these studies. Some of these articles that I'm going to read you come from MUFON's case studies. And some come from other locations. History.com is one good source that I pulled quite a bit of information off of. There's 1063 Radio Lafayette.com is another one that had a good story in here. I mean, there's just...
Understood.
All right, so when I name these, I want you to tell me if you guys have heard of these before. So we're going to start off with number 10. This is the O'Hare International Airport saucer. This is from 2006. Have you guys heard of this one before?
I remember that happening.
All right.
Nope, did not hear about it.
I'll go through this. Some of these I have some little clips to play with you guys for, as well. Some audio from, some of them are funny, and then some of them are like, holy shit, the hair on the back of your neck will probably raise. All right, so O'Hare International Airport saucer from 2006. Flight 446 was getting ready to fly to North Carolina from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport when a United Airline employee on the tarmac noticed a gray metallic craft hovering over gate C-17. That day, November 7th, 2006, a total of 12 United employees. So what I'm also going to add to this is these were their sightings. There's going to be several of them. So there'll be lots of witnesses. This is not like one guy in the woods that had an experience and then told a story that's easily debunked or, questionable. So a total of 12 employees. A few witnesses outside the airport spotted the saucer-shaped craft around 4:15 p.m. So this is, early evening, late afternoon, very obviously not trying to be concealed or anything like that. The witnesses say it hovered for about 5 minutes before shooting upward, where it broke a hole in the clouds enough that pilots and mechanics on the ground could see blue sky. So Chicago O'Hare, especially in November, is very overcast. So think fucking cold as shit. I mean, you're in Chicago and it's very windy. It's very, very overcast almost all of the time. They could see blue, like an obvious hole punched through the clouds from where this object shot straight up. Enough where the pilots and mechanics could see the blue sky. The news report became the most read story on the Chicago Tribune's website that day, and to date has made international news as that. It's one of the most popular stories out of that newspaper. However, because the UFO was not seen on radar, the FAA called it a weather phenomena and declined to investigate. So that one's from the history.com, and I've got a little clip to play.
Joe was a mechanic for United Airlines. While taxiing a jumbo jet to the hangar, he and another mechanic
looked out the window in the general direction and noticed an object up in the sky, dark gray object sitting above the terminal complex.
Joe, which is not his real name, is one of several airport workers, some of whom have talked to the Chicago Tribune, who say they saw a saucer-shaped UFO hovering just beneath the clouds at the airport. He's the first to go on camera to talk about it since this happened several weeks.
Now, there are videos that accompany all of these. This particular one doesn't have videos of the aircraft, though. Just so if you were the listeners or whatever, go research this. There's nobody happened to take a picture of this. It's 2006, so it's still kind of early smartphone.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't have a readily available smartphone to take a quick pic or video.
4 weeks ago, he wants to remain anonymous.
But you're sure it was some kind of object that normally would not be above O'Hare Airport?
I've been at O'Hare for quite some time, and let's just say that I've never seen an object in my time there that looked like this. And I'll tell you, definitely, it was not an airplane as we know it.
But it could be an airplane as another world knows it.
Possibly.
Other witnesses told an organization called the National UFO Reporting Center that the object eventually shot straight up in the sky at a great rate of speed.
It looked like literally someone had poked a hole in the clouds. Just a round hole.
Joe thinks the disc is either a stealthy military project or a spacecraft from another planet. But
I find it very strange or very peculiar that somebody who possesses the technology to travel between star systems would sit over an airport in Chicago.
Hard to argue that. A spokesperson for United Airlines says, "We are aware of what the employees said they saw, but this is not something United would investigate. Talk to the FAA," says the airline. The TSA and the Chicago Department of Aviation also told us to talk to the FAA. So we did, and an FAA spokesperson told us we too don't have the power to investigate. The FAA adds that radar did not pick up anything out of the ordinary, and the sighting might have been caused by a weather phenomenon.
And you don't believe it was a weather phenomenon?
Not at all. Not for a minute.
O'Hare has apparently been UFO-free since that November afternoon.
All right, so
UFO free though. That's good.
yeah, hey,
That's good.
Hey, no more UFOs. So it's interesting. So out of, there's 2 or 3 dozen witnesses at this particular instance, all different, race, creed, genre, whatever. They're from all different draws of society. So it's not like a group of people that are getting together saying we saw this together. So it's quite peculiar. So far there is no empirical evidence to prove that is debunked or that is, also real. So it's a very, very big unsolved mystery as to what exactly was over that airport. Can you imagine sitting on the tarmac and seeing that motherfucker sitting at the plane, though?
Yeah, it'd freak you out if you're supposed to be getting ready to take off. You're like,
Considerably. All right, number 9. We're going to move on. The Stephenville Sightings. And this is 2008. I tried to get a bunch of these that are more relatively recent because the credibility with a lot of these is way beyond what they were from some of the sightings in the 50s and the 60s, just because there's so many more witnesses. You'll get the idea. The small town of Stephenville, Texas, 100 miles southwest of Dallas, is mostly known for its dairy farms. But in the evening of January 8th, 2008, dozens of its residents viewed something unique in the sky. Citizens reported seeing white lights above Highway 67, first in a single horizontal arc and then in vertical parallel lines. Local pilot Steve Allen estimated that the strobe lights spanned about 1.5 miles wide, traveling at about 3,000 miles per hour. No sound was reported. And keep in mind, 3,000 miles per hour, and this is a pilot, so he can judge distances with aerial aircraft and stuff like that. 3,000 mile an hour would be fast enough to break the speed of sound.
Yeah.
So you would hear sonic booms, either coming or going. If it's accelerating or decelerating or just stable, you would still hear that sonic boom through our atmosphere. Witnesses believed the event was reminiscent of the Phoenix Lights sightings back in 1997, while the U.S. Air Force revealed weeks later that F-16s were flying in Brownwood Military Operations Area, just southwest of Stevensville. Many townspeople didn't buy that explanation, believing that they were too far technologically advanced for current human capability. So F-16s in this case, they're fast, but they're not that fast.
That's 3,000 miles
They're
an
like
hour.
a fifth of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this one's kind of funny. I mean, you got to understand that the context from where this is coming from. But got another sound clip from you. This is from one of the eyewitnesses for the Stephenville sightings.
It was very intense, bright lights. I keep hearing that over and over and over, and they spanned a wide area.
It's so fast when it took off, and it made not a sound.
This guy you're hearing right now, by the way, he's a very handsome young man. He's probably 30, but he's fucking a brute, just like your very stereotypical cornbread Texas boy.
Yeah.
Just a big motherfucker out hunting.
Ricky Sorrells was deer hunting in these woods when he says the UFO stopped and hovered just over his head.
And I did just like this, and I could see it. And if you look at the trees, it's right here. It's 300 foot up. It's right here.
It's right here.
Sorrells thought about shooting at the object, but didn't want to start an interstellar war, so he lowered his gun and hightailed it back to the house.
Not start an
He
interstellar
still
war.
isn't sure what he saw.
I would like to think that it was man-made. I would like to think that. To know that, I don't know.
You can see it right there, east-northeast, is right here, right in this direction, right here. I saw it at about 70 degrees up from the horizon.
Jason Lee also saw the object, describing it as a bright light in the sky, brighter than a star and larger.
What I thought it was obviously some technology from another dimension, another world. I don't know.
This
I'm not
guy's
going
my
to
favorite.
say little green men.
Oh, by the way, when he was talking about the direction that he saw it, this is the type of guy that has a compass in his watch. I think that should give you a pretty good idea
Nice.
of him. We'll finish up his interview.
According to the Mutual UFO Network, there are about 200 reported UFO sightings a month in the U.S. The network is sending investigators to look into these recent reports.
All right, so yeah, this one in Texas had a lot of witnesses. There were tons of people from all different perspectives, all different angles. And all of them reported on the speed of this as well, which was part of the interesting thing, is how fast it traveled through the area. Nothing that we have would travel that fast. Nothing other than something coming out of, circumnavigating the planet in space. that when they're in space, objects are going between 12 and 25,000 miles per hour. So those are obviously going fast enough, but nothing inside the atmosphere. This is far too low to be anything that is explainable by conventional physics, at least with how we do stuff. All right.
Man, it's trying to remember a time. I'm sorry if this is on your list.
No, it's okay.
There was it was like on the news that like they had news cameras reporting lights over a major city.
That's probably the Phoenix lights. Those are the most popular lights over a city, and they were viewed by thousands of people. I tried to get more unconventional ones. The Phoenix lights have been partially debunked, at least rumoredly to be debunked, because I think the Air Force has come out and said that they were doing parachuting with flare attachments and things like that. I'm pretty sure. I can always go back and research more on that one. That one, I did not put the Phoenix lights in this one just because it has been so overpopularized. I don't want to have, what everybody talks about in this list.
You're going to bring us some new stuff.
Except number 8. Number 8's not new. See what I did there?
Nice. Roswell.
All right. Does the name Travis Walton mean anything to you guys?
Nothing.
How about the term fire in the sky?
I've heard of the movie. I didn't see it.
You didn't see it?
No.
It's actually a really good movie. That came out like 1995 or something like that. Yeah, it was actually a really, really good movie. So I'll read you this quick synopsis. I would highly recommend going to see the movie. However, the movie's interpretation of his story is not exactly how he reported it. So if you really want his perspective of it, there's several interviews with him out there on YouTube. You can just go and watch those, or you can go and I think he even had a book that he sold on it as well. So there is a little bit of potential speculation of him making a profit off of this. So anyway, I'll read you the story. You tell me what you guys think. The Travis Walton UFO incident was an alleged alien abduction of an American forestry worker, Travis Walton, by a UFO on November 5th, 1975. So this one goes back a little while. While he was working in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. Oh, now we know the birthplace of snowflakes in America.
Nice. I still don't understand that term, by the way.
Snowflake?
I guess that probably makes me one. Is that why? I don't want to get off on the story. We'll have to discussion for another time.
Absolutely. Walton reappeared after a 5-day search. The Walton case received mainstream publicity and remains one of the best known alien abduction stories. According to Walton, on the 5th of November, 1975, he was working with a timber stand improvement crew in the Apache Sitgreaves, Apache Sitgreaves National Forest near Snowflake, Arizona. While riding in a truck with 6 of his coworkers, it's a big truck, they encountered a saucer-shaped object hovering over the ground approximately 110 feet away. Now, how would you know 110 feet? 100 feet, sure. It's about 100 feet away. How would you know 110 feet? Of course, I guess these guys know the size of trees. So maybe they have it pretty good. Making a high-pitched buzz. Walton claims that after he left the truck and approached the object, a beam of light suddenly appeared from the craft and knocked him unconscious. The other 6 men were frightened and supposedly drove away. And they also interviewed all of these guys. These guys have gone through, I'm only scratching the surface on this story, and all of these really. There were all these other guys were interviewed for murdering this guy, and they were all put under lie detectors, and all of their stories corroborated when they were outside of each other's presence. So, and these are not exactly the smartest fucking guys in the town. These are forestry workers, not denigrating forestry workers at all, but these are not your criminal masterminds. So planning a crime, if they were going to and then corroborate all their stories, would be a pretty difficult task for some of these fellows. Walton claimed that he awoke in a hospital-like room being observed by 3 short, bald creatures. Now,
Danny DeVito and his 2 sons.
Insert your jokes here. Should be very quiet. Will hunting Travis Waltons. All right.
Oh, God, edit that joke out. So bad.
He claimed that he fought with them until a human wearing a helmet led Walton to another room where he blacked out as 3 other humans put clear plastic mask over his face. Walton has claimed he remembers nothing else until he found himself walking along the highway with the flying saucer. So
what?
Yeah,
with
the flying saucer. So I don't know. Maybe I copied and paste part of that out of Wikipedia wrong. But
like they were holding hands.
Yeah. In the story, in the movie, he was found walking naked on a highway by some drivers by, and then they took him into the closest town, and then he was ended up found. But it was 5 days had gone by where he was missing, and he was having some serious, what we know now as PTSD. They didn't understand that back then, but he was obviously traumatized. There was some serious trauma that had occurred to him. He had marks in his body. He had been obviously fucked up pretty bad. And then through some hypnosis and through some other mechanisms, they were able to pull the stories and the memories out of him, which led down to the path of the story of Fire in the Sky. It's an interesting story because of the characteristics of the levels of detail from all the people telling, the witnesses of the story telling the story, and then his accounts on the other end of it. After those guys had, after he was abducted, these guys all told their stories in unison almost. I mean, their stories were very similar to each other. And then he suddenly reappeared 5 days later, and then his side of the story matches all of these guys. It's like it's the perfect storm. That many people from that many grades of life having the same type of story like that is almost impossible. So it's credible for truth. And that's what makes it a really phenomenal story. And you got to watch it, though. I can't believe you guys haven't seen Fire in the Sky. You need to rent that movie or Netflix it or something, because it is fucking good. It's a little creepy, but it's good.
So did the guys in the truck, they said the same thing? Like, he got abducted by a flashlight.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So they saw the object, and the quote "Fire in the Sky" comes from one of the guys saying, it's because it was nighttime and they're driving through the trees, driving through the forest after they did their lumbering jobs, and the whole sky lit up as if it was a fire. That's why they were heading that way. I mean, that's their livelihood is those forests. So they were going to go investigate. And when they got there, there's this fucking flying saucer at exactly 110 feet in the air. And Travis, this knucklehead, gets out of the truck to go closer to it and investigate it. And all the other guys were back in the truck, and the beam of light hits him, and then he was gone. And so was the flying saucer. So these guys haul ass back to the city and immediately go to the cops and just, we don't know what to report here, but something bad just happened.
Give me that. Yeah. You're going to think we're insane, but this dude's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. They probably all just partied real hard and sodomized them for like 5 days and just didn't want to admit that they were all just,
These are, it's interesting. I mean, these are good old boys. I mean, they're all some, country boy rednecks probably, but very Bible Belt of America. And, they're very, none of them led anything more than like petty crimes.
Where was this again?
That's a great question. I don't remember where the story was from. Oh, Snowflake, Arizona.
That's right. Snowflake.
Oh, the birthplace of DMT. Got
it. Yes. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah. It's an interesting story. Not quite as interesting as the next one. We're going back to World War II, boys.
Nice.
Have you guys ever heard of the Battle of Los Angeles?
No.
I haven't.
Not the movie. There was a movie that was called Battle of Los Angeles. It kind of dealt with some alien shit, but no, not this one. All right, so check this out. This occurred February 1942 in California during World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor had happened only 3 months before, so you know that everybody in the U.S. is on fucking pins and needles. They're ready to blow some shit up. And on the night of February 24th, again back in 1942, military units on the California coast were instructed to prepare for Japanese raids. They were fearing raids were inbound. On the morning of February 25th, the very next day, an unidentified aircraft was spotted on the radar 120 miles west of Los Angeles and then disappeared. From there, air raid sirens were raised. A citywide blackout was initiated. Do you guys know why citywide blackouts were a thing in World War II?
No.
So bombers back in the day didn't have sophisticated instruments or technology like we have now. So bombers would literally be looking through the scope, as they could see the city. If it was nighttime, if they could see lights, they knew where their targets were. So if it was dark, in this case dawn, they would still be able to see lights from the nighttime activity. So whenever air raid sirens started to go off, the city would cut all the electricity, so there would be no light, so they would have no capability of targeting. Because when you're up at 20,000 feet, a city doesn't necessarily look like a city at night. It could look like terrain.
Yeah.
So you kill all the lights, they're blind for what they're hitting.
Interesting.
So they initiated the blackout. Bright anti-aircraft searchlights punctured the night sky, and a mass defense air raid was launched. So think World War II timeframes. So not really missiles. We got rounds, ammunition, machine gunneries, anti-aircraft ballistic style weapons that were shot, not ballistic, but explosive rounds were shot up into the air. So this is from the coast of Los Angeles up into the air, just outside of Los Angeles. They're shooting at something that they see, and they have lights on it. They've got the spotlights pointed on this object, and they're fucking unloading. It is just going absolutely chaotic, trying to knock this motherfucker out of the sky. They thought they were being raided by the Japanese. So it was, a legitimate concern considering the time. Reports of unidentified flying objects, foreign aircrafts, and even airplane crash landings came pouring into local police departments. The mass chaos led to the deaths of at least 5 civilians from heart attacks and car accidents during the citywide blackout, and vast property damage from shrapnel. So again, think about this. Thousands of rounds, probably hundreds of thousands of rounds are being fired into the skies of Los Angeles. Those things go up, they got to come down. They're raining shells on Los Angeles. So it is considerably chaotic. Later, this is where it gets very interesting, it was discovered that the unidentified object was not from an enemy combatant. Nobody had made it that far. So it was none of our enemies had made it over there. Several contradictory reports from witnesses, the government, and newspapers at the same time stated seeing balloons, aircraft, hovering objects, and other phenomena in the night sky, which added to the confusion and wartime paranoia. This is from a Travel Channel, by the way, some of these details. But there are some photos of that, and I don't know the legitimacy of the photos, but it looks like fucking World War III. I mean, it is just chaos in the skies over what was 1942 Los Angeles. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to look up.
They were trying to shoot down what reportedly was some kind of UAP, UFO.
UAP now, but to them it was just an unidentified object. To them, they weren't thinking this is aliens. They thought
it was the Japanese.
They thought it was the Japanese. They were trying to prevent Pearl Harbor happening again inside continental United States. So yeah, the military was just wanting to shoot down whatever the fuck wasn't them. That's all they were trying to do.
Not us.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so far I've told you about events, things that have occurred where UFOs have been involved. I'm going to tell you about a guy. So for number 6, this guy's name is Luis Elizondo. Luis Elizondo was a former employee of the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence. He currently serves as Director of Global Security and Special Programs at To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science. Does anybody know what To the Stars?
Wait, is this for U.S.? What he was? Okay.
Yes, correct.
No.
Do you guys know? You don't know what To the Stars is? Okay.
No.
I'll go. It'll explain it a little bit. Once I say who leads To the Stars, you guys will be pretty, I think, shocked if you hadn't heard this before. Elizondo headed the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, the ATIP, AATIP, ATIP, you know how government is, loving their acronyms, until the program was defunded. ATIP was a $22 million, so on the grand scheme of things, really not that much, special access program initiated by the Defense Intelligence Agency in order to study unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, also known as UFOs. Elizondo also claims that the government has recovered metal alloy and other materials from some of the objects, but they aren't letting the public know about it. According to the Pentagon, the ATIP, the program he works for, was canceled in 2012. So here's a couple interesting quotes from this guy. So this guy was way up in the United States government, in our federal government, and had information that the public just did not have privy to. Maybe because of his classification level, maybe because of, what are the things you have to sign? Non-disclosure agreements, whatever it was, he had access to stuff that not the rest of the public could have. Here's some interesting quotes from him. These things that were observed, this is a quote, these things that were observed were pulling 400 to 500 Gs. Now, do you know what a G is, Ron, in this case?
$1,000.
Sort of, yes. So a G is 1 G is the force of gravity.
Okay.
Right? 2 Gs is 2 times the amount of force that gravity would exert on you. So aircraft, like if you're in a fighter jet or something, you could pull 5, 6, 7 Gs maybe, and that's what they train you on. So he's claiming, and again, this guy has at least some credibility for his experience. He's saying that some of these were pulling 400 and 500 Gs. If that's the case, if the inertia inside one of these things was truly pulling that fast, you would be liquid at that point. It would be so much inertia that your body would not sustain its current form. You would just turn to mush. It's just too much stability. So I'll keep reading some of his quotes. They don't have engines or even wings, and they are able to seemingly defy the natural effects of Earth's gravitational pull. Quote, we trust the American people to know that North Korea has nuclear warheads pointing at Los Angeles, yet we don't trust them with the knowledge that there's something in our skies and we don't know what it is. That seems counterproductive to me, Elizondo says. So this is a guy that was considered one of the high ups in this kind of aerial phenomena type of thing, this UFO type of investigation. And once it was all defunded, he's frustrating. He's voicing inventing his frustration that he thinks the American public should know more than what they're getting, that the government is giving. And this is back in 2012, so keep that in mind as we move forward to this list. So that was 10 through 6. So let's take a little break. We'll come back and we'll do the next 5, and they're only going to get cooler and better.
That's awesome.
And Ron, one of these is something that I'm going to tease it a little bit going into the break. You've talked about on this very show.
I think I know what you're going to mention.
Way back in the day.
I know exactly what you're going to mention. Are you going to let me guess?
Yeah. When we come back, you take a guess. All right. We will be right back. All right, welcome back to the Twisted 10. So this is the UFO and UAP episode, deep diving some of the stories about UFOs in the past. Let me give you a quick recap, Josh and Ron, of 10 through 6. So 10 was the O'Hare International Airport saucer. The motherfucker landed on the hovered over the end of the runway. Number 9 is the Stevensville Sightings. This is the one in Texas, where the guy restrained himself from shooting at the aircraft.
And he didn't want to start an what did he say? Intergalactic war, interstellar conflict. That's what it was.
Yep. Number 8 was the Travis Walton Fire in the Sky story, which to me personally was fascinating. If you go watch the movie, it's a good watch. Number 7 is Battle of Los Angeles, which again, just a phenomenal story. Could have been Much Ado About Nothing. There could have been nothing there, but they lit it up and they fucking fired lots of stuff at it. And number 6 was Luis Elizondo, who was the Office of the Undersecretary of the Defense for Intelligence, or OUSDI, if you are loving acronyms.
Sounds like an infection.
It does a little bit. So there's your top 6. What are you guys' thoughts so far? I mean your top, your 10 through 6 top. You know what I mean.
I got you.
You know, it's funny. It's something that I'm just talking amongst ourselves during that break. You brought up a really good point, Ron. We have kind of been just kind of awestruck. It's incredibly fascinating, just the entire list, because they are unprovable,
undisprovable. Yeah.
Is that a word? Undisprovable?
Well, we're going to use it, damn it.
Cool. Well, and so it's, they're just really cool stories. It's just about like stuff we can never really know the answer to. It's pretty speculative. I like it.
That's so weird when it comes to this alien stuff. When I was younger, I was into it and a big believer of everything, probably even into my 20s. I don't know. Over the past 5 years, I don't know if it's like skepticism on so many more things, not just this kind of stuff. I just think it's like almost all bullshit now. I hate having that because it was more fun when I believed it. It was a lot more fun. I'm so hesitant to believe any stories, not just these, any UFO stories, any people like, okay, I believe you think you saw something, but it probably wasn't a UFO, or, it's just, I mean, maybe in there somewhere in the 25,000 stories of UFOs, I guess it's possible there's a couple in there that are real. And, obviously I believe in the existence of life on other planets. Absolutely 100%. I mean, the thought of that not being possible is just ridiculous to me. But the thought that they're here, they're visiting us for whatever reason in different aircrafts that do different things, and the one that hovers over the airport and the one with the lights that go 3,000 miles per hour, is that like a different alien race? Is that the same alien race?
That's an interesting question.
Is that like, there's just like, it all just sounds so ridiculous that I can't wrap my head around it anymore. So I just I've had a tendency recently, probably over the last 5 years, to be very dismissive of it and I think it's just all a bunch of bullshit.
What would it take for you to believe that something out there actually exists? You seeing it yourself, or you getting, what's the term where they say they're going to disclose? If disclosure was to happen, would you then believe it? Meaning the disclosure terminology is used in the UFO community, meaning that like the D-Day, when the governments of the world finally come out and tell all of the citizens of the world that yes, UFOs exist, and here's how we know why.
Yeah, I'd just like to see some evidence with my own eyes.
Evidence. Okay.
I just need some evidence. Yeah.
All right. I may have evidence that could potentially convince you in the next 5.
Oh, that's interesting. That'd be interesting. I mean, I've been told by people I trust that it exists. You know what I mean? Like that it absolutely does. But I don't know if they were just messing with me.
I'm gonna give,
or if they,
I have,
or if they were just were they just screwing with me? Just to see what my reaction would be, or I don't know.
I have a story that, at their request, I actually can't just tell in the air. It's very, very private, but it's actually someone from my immediate family and a very close family friend have a story about a time that they believe that they saw something out on Nova Road here.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I can tell you guys,
dude. Nova Road, for the people who are listening, is a road that connects kind of the east coast of Florida, where we live, to Orlando, but not through conventional highways that are traveled. It's dark, and its cell service is dead. I mean, there's no.
It's a dead zone for like 30 miles. There's no lights. There's no towns. There's no houses. It's just through undeveloped parts of Florida.
Unbelievably bright for the stars in the night sky. Yeah. It is so beautiful because you're beyond all the light pollution of Orlando or Cocoa areas. It's beautiful out there. I dated a girl that lived in St. Cloud. I used to take Nova Road to go over to her place.
I used to street race out there.
On Nova Road?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Oh, yeah. We had a guy who went out with night vision goggles and a police scanner. And they would go all the way down and back.
And the police scanner. That's the best part. Nice.
That's cool.
So I have a story. I hesitated to bring this up or not. It's
Wait a minute, you have no belief, but you've got a story?
I don't have my own personal story. Just something I was told. But it was from my grandfather. So a little history of my grandfather. Grew up in Yonkers, New York. Graduated top of his class of George Washington. Worked for the government for 30 years. Program manager for 3 Apollo missions.
Wow, Jesus Christ. How have we never talked about this before?
Yeah, well, it's just assistant, and finished his career after retirement of government work as assistant state attorney here in this county for 7 years, till he finally got tired of working and decided to retire. He told me in the 60s, he went... Now, again, he was never one to kid with me, always a very serious person. Any few people that are still around that knew him, very serious person, most intelligent person I knew, not one to screw around, not one to really make jokes, and not one to kid. Whenever after Bob Lazar came out and spilled the beans, he said to me, now that people have come out and said it, I'll just say it. I was in Roswell. I saw the UFOs. They were trying to make those things work and could not figure out how they worked. That is what he told me. And that was it. And cool. I wasn't smart enough to think, I've got about 45,000 follow-up questions for you if I could, if we could get into that. At the time, I was such a believer. I was young. I was in my teens at the time. So I would say this was probably around 91. He told me.
70 years ago for you. Then.
I think he saw them in the 60s, somewhere in the late to mid 60s. I'm just guessing from when he did. I don't know because he didn't give me the year was. People can believe him or not. People can believe me or not that he told me that. It really doesn't matter to me because I don't know.
Do you trust him?
I would only think that maybe he was just screwing with me as a reaction, although that was he never came back and said, hey, I was just kidding, or just looked at me and started giggle. It was completely, it would have been 100% outside of his demeanor, or he would have at least smiled and giggled at that time and moved on.
That's cool.
I don't remember what the conversation was. I probably brought it up because I was so big into that shit when I was, in my mid-teens. Who knows? Absolutely, positively, who knows if what he told me was just he was screwing with me or was absolutely true.
That's cool.
I don't know.
You brought up Bob Lazar. I'm going to throw Bob Lazar's name out there as an honorable mention right here in the middle of the show. I did not do anything on Bob Lazar. However, he has one of the absolute most fascinating stories from start to finish of the UFO topic or UAP topic altogether. So just a short, quick summary. Bob Lazar was a physicist, and there's a fantastic Netflix movie on him right now that you can go watch, and I recommend doing it because it is really fascinating. If he is faking the information that he is telling, he is a genius of marketing and a poet, just because the way he can narrate the story and the way he remembers the details and sticks to the details for this long and can fake all these tests.
I've heard people say that
phenomenal.
same exact thing that you said.
Yeah.
That's just, he's so specific on everything. The details never change. The stories never change. Nothing changes. It just seems almost impossible for anybody to fake it for this long
It continues to be proven. His stories continue to be proven
out.
True.
Yeah.
So some of the details, like he was a physicist that worked, one of these places out in near Area 51, and was pulled in and then given the security clearance, given all of this information to go out and work on pieces and parts of different aircraft or unknown pieces of. Nobody ever got the full picture. They were very compartmentalized on their project, which might have to do with one component of what would be potentially a UFO.
Yeah.
He got to work with the anti-gravity and gravity drive systems of these things, which uses an element on the periodic table of elements that was not even around back then, called element 115, I believe is what it is.
It was 117.
117?
Look at this.
Yeah, which is, in his description, again, this is like fourth party information at this point, but it is in the way that humanity can create that element right now is unstable and only lasts for a few nanoseconds inside very seriously controlled situations like a particle collider. So we can create that element and we can prove its existence, but we cannot have a stable form of that element. Bob says that not only did they have that element in decent amounts of quantity, but that element, when electricity is conducted through it, allows you to manipulate gravity. Now, not in a way that you and I think, but so much so that you could create dampeners around aircraft that could do these 400 and 500 G maneuvers and make these, mind-bending angles and turns without having any propulsion, without having any smoke coming out the back or jet wash or any of that stuff. No wings. You don't even need fucking wings, and you can travel at these remarkably high speeds with this element. So and then later after he told this story way back then, and then that element wasn't even discovered until like 20 years later. So he predicted its characteristics and then later was proven right. It's just remarkable. So if you get a chance, go check out the Bob Lazar story. There's several podcasts that have done some phenomenal coverages of Bob Lazar. We're going to give a plug to our boys over at Hysteria 51 again, just because they did a really good one. So did Dan Cummins with Time Suck. He did a Bob Lazar episode that was really fascinating. So go check those out. Go deep dive those guys. Twisted Tin's not the best spot for that, but
real quick cleanup. I said my grandfather was at Roswell. I meant Area 51, not Roswell.
Okay.
I guess that's two different places, right?
Roswell is where the crash apparently happened. Area 51 allegedly is where they took him.
They took him. Okay. And just a little connector there, my grandfather said specifically, I can say this now because people I worked with have come out. Whether that means he worked with or knew...
They were gay?
But yeah, whether that means he worked with or knew Bob Lazar or other people. I guess it was other people. I don't know. I just wanted to just get those specific details.
On a personal note, dude, you and I are gonna have another conversation. I want to know who your grandfather was, and I would love to hear more details about that. That's cool.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it sometime.
All right. All right, this you ready for number 5?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right, this next story I titled "I'm not gonna take your beer." All right.
Okay. I like it.
The reason I say this is because of the accompanying sound clip and video. Almost all these have videos that go along with it. So if you want to get more information, check out the show notes or go and just do a YouTube search for some of these things and you'll find them. All right. So there's a video. By the way, this came to us from 1063radiolafayette.com. All right. So it's a weird place to get this information from, but that's just the first person that reported it. So they get all the credit for it. There's a video that is making the rounds on the internet that could be footage of an actual flying saucer. According to a report, 100 different people in a small California town witnessed a strange object hovering over the sky on October 19th. Of last year. This is 2019.
2019?
Yeah, so this is just recently. It definitely looks like a flying saucer. The person taking the video comments that it could be a drone with lights, but the object just does not resemble a drone. And I watched the video. I mean, technically, some of the smaller lights in this thing could be drones, but it would have like a drone mothership. All right, just to give a comparison, it's like a bunch of little drones flying around this big ass drone, and for the distance it's away, these things would have to be like jet propulsed drone. It's not drones. At least I don't think that it's drones. Neither did 100 people that called in to report it. The UFO disappeared into the night sky after about 5 minutes. So 5 minutes worth of these things hanging out up in this town sky in California, and then they take off.
Oh man, this is 2019. I bet I can find some pictures while you're talking about it.
Absolutely. A couple was outside enjoying the fresh nighttime air, and both of them saw something strange. There was mysterious balls of light in the sky, and the balls appeared to drop something. Luckily, the husband was able to capture a video and uploaded it to Facebook. The video quickly gained lots of attention and comments, although no one could come up with an explanation. A local news station talked to an aviation expert. One theory offered to explain the lights. The weird balls of lights was it could be from parachute flares commonly used by the military. There were no military activities in or around this town in California in that evening. So I'm going to play you a little clip, and there's a really good video that accompanies this, but I really like the dialogue between the two characters or three characters you hear in this. So check this out.
Fuck that, dude. Those are aliens.
Fuck that, dude. Those are aliens, is what he says.
What in the fucking god, man?
It's kind of hard to hear.
Dude, what is that, bro? Are those drones? What is that thing in the middle then? They're too high to be drones. Dude, what is that? I'm not kidding, bro. I'm about to leave. I'm like gonna get in my truck and start driving.
He's scared.
That's weird, buddy. Hold on a second.
That's the guy filming, obviously.
I can't tell if it's drones or what.
They're not parachuters because...
Is that sound coming from them?
Big.
That sound is like an air conditioner right beside them.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like the sound of the UFOs.
No. They're so far off in the distance from where this video is that no, you can't hear anything from them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and dude, they're so high in the sky. The drones are tiny, but that's... Dude, we're all gonna die. Look at some of them are disappearing. Dude, they're fucking aliens, dude. Am I freaking out, dude? What is it? Am I tripping?
Am I tripping?
What is that shit, dude?
Well,
I'm not gonna kick your beer.
I can't trust you.
What is that? Why can't you trust me?
I'm not gonna take your beer.
I'm not gonna take your beer. Why not, man?
Well, these guys are clearly probably drunk off their ass. So let's start with that.
Yes. So granted, the comical duo or trio, they're like three voices there, but yeah, I almost titled it "We're All Gonna Die." I was watching that the first time, and you hear the guy, "We're all gonna die, man!" Like, dude, that's like Cheech. He's high as fuck watching some aliens.
That's some fucking alien shit there, bro. Nice.
All right. So that video's good though. If you happen to found it while you were looking it up, it's decent. It's a decent video because you can see. I wish we had our TV up in here, but that's some time off. The video is pretty interesting because it does show like a single bright light, and then what looks like orbiting the light is a bunch of other little lights, and they're kind of going in random patterns and stuff. It's interesting.
Has somebody gone through it to make sure it wasn't doctored with any kind of
there's videos from different angles. So if
CGI or anything,
if it was something that was a hoax, it's a very well established hoax because you have cameras from different angles that are
there's more than one camera.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about special effects? Any special effects expert looked at it and say, "Oh, we could do this like that."
I can't answer that. What I can say is I could not find anything debunking the stories that I'm bringing to you tonight.
Snopes is always a first go-to.
Snopes is the funniest thing to me because it shows the meme about Snopes is it shows a man and his wife and their cats are what started Snopes, and now it's this gigantic entity that is the end-all be-all source for proving something right or wrong on the internet. But no, I did not go to Snopes. I looked up for anything debunking the videos and audio that I was.
Gotcha. Which would if it was in Snopes that would have brought it up.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Did you find it, Josh?
No, I'm finding other stuff like UFOs over Lafayette 4 years ago, 11 years ago, 8 years ago.
How come these aren't more widely reported? Part of my
so it depends on the circles.
Some of my skepticism over this is the fact that for years very few people had. I mean, everybody had like a camcorder in there buried in the back of their closet. They busted out for Christmas and birthdays and weddings, but nobody had it on them at any time when you would see shit like that, except once in a while. And then almost 99.9% of these videos we did see on all these stupid shows on A&E for years was all just bullshit. It was all faked. It was all special effects and CGI, and it was just crap. And then all of a sudden, every single person has a camera, and I'm like, how come I don't see any UFO videos? Well, apparently there are some.
There's a lot.
But how come they're not more widely reported? How come I haven't seen them? I don't see them on the local news. I don't see them on Facebook.
You have
or Twitter.
Now. Well, so I actually originally saw this one on Facebook. This is months ago, but this is where I originally saw this one. But to answer your question, for the same reason you're skeptical right now, because there's no body of evidence that supports the truth or the facts of this being a UFO. You can't prove it to be real to the common public. There's plenty of excuses for ones that are obviously faked and can be proven to be fake.
Yes.
So there's more of a chance that you are going to believe that all of it's fake because you cannot prove the legitimacy of actual
anything
UFO sightings.
That could be real. It's really nearly impossible to prove it's real.
It's a human psychological trait. You can't prove something to be factual when there's a lot of incorrect and falsehoods that are out there. Your mind is going to immediately assume that it's false. It's just nature. It's how your brain's wired.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, so the next two are going to be kind of fun. So these are more thought patterns. So not all of these are like sightings or experiences. Some of these have to do in the realm of theory.
What the fuck?
Oh,
sorry,
wait.
I just found the video.
Oh, you found it?
I think so.
We're going to go to Josh's live reaction of the video. I ain't going to steal your bear. Oh, sorry.
We're all going to die.
We're all going to die, man. Some alien shit right there.
That's it. That's definitely the video. Hey, you see what I mean? It's the lights and how they're moving and... That's weird, buddy.
That's weird, buddy.
You said this was last year?
Yeah.
I think it was. Filming on like an iPhone 2?
Of course.
What the fuck is this?
It's always some grainy video.
October 19th.
Honestly, and I mean, not to take away from Adam's story, but this is really...
My flip phone does 10 seconds of video.
It's really weird.
It is truly a UAP, an unexplainable aerial phenomena.
Yeah, so... If anybody wants to, well, we'll have a link in the show notes.
Yeah, I've got. Is yours from the 106.3 Radio Lafayette.com one as well?
Yeah.
Can you throw that link in our Telegram?
Fine, I'll do all the work for you.
Thanks, buddy. I'll have to go digging for it.
All right, number 4. Aliens are from Earth.
No,
sort of. This isn't a border wall thing. Don't worry about that. No. It's a really cool theory. All right, so check this out. The idea that our universe is just one of many, perhaps infinite, other universes is known as the multiverse theory. Scientists have previously thought that such parallel universes, if they exist, would have to meet an extremely strict set of criteria to allow for the formation of stars, galaxies, life-fostering planets like those seen in our own universe. In new studies, researchers ran a massive computer simulation to build new universes under various starting conditions. They found that the conditions for life might be a little broader than previously thought, especially when it comes to the mysterious pull of dark energy, which is still something that is undefined in our existence. We know it's there. We can prove it's there. We don't know what the fuck it is. The good news, even the universes with 300 times as much dark energy as ours still found a way for life to exist. Our simulations showed that the accelerated expansion driven by dark energy has hardly any impact on the birth of stars, and hence places for life to arise. Study co-author Pascal Elahi, a researcher at University of Western Australia, said in a statement, quote, ever-increasing dark energy many hundreds of times might not even be enough to make a dead universe. So what they're discovering is that dark energy is needed for life. They thought altering the amounts of dark energy that is in our universe compared to other potential universes could affect that, but it doesn't. It doesn't seem to. So in reference to this, so this is I'll summarize the theories here. So aliens that we see that are reported to be seen may not actually come from another planet outside of our solar system because of the potentials of the speed of light travel and degradation of how that would work over time. So there's a theory that exists that the aliens that we're experiencing are actually Earthlings, just from a different evolutionary path in a different dimension. So another Earth in the exact same place that we are right now.
That's interesting and out there, but fun to talk about.
It's a thinking experiment.
Yeah, definitely.
So somehow this other evolution of Earth has maybe there was never an asteroid that hit the dinosaurs and wiped them out. So maybe these are reptiles, lizard people, or whatever. And
it's like Star Trek.
Maybe they have developed the way to travel through interdimensionally. And we're not actually experiencing something that has come from hundreds of light years away. We're experiencing something that's already here. Just they know how to jump in and out of our plane of existence.
They know how to dimension hop.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. So they're just checking out, hey, here's what Earth would have looked like if this had happened.
Yeah.
Check out those idiots. Aren't you glad it didn't happen?
If that's true, they could potentially jump through many thousands of Earths to find ones that where life exists or where life doesn't exist or where dinosaurs are still here or what. I mean, they could theoretically jump between all of these different existences and never have to travel anywhere. Well, more or less anywhere.
Sounds like a Rick and Morty episode.
Yeah, well, no,
nice.
No doubt. Absolutely. So if you guys ever wonder, especially our listeners, what does Adam's search history look like? This kind of shit is what fascinates the fuck out of me. These theoretical ideas and these thought experiments and this kind of stuff. This is what I think about.
No, I get. I mean,
and DayZ. I mean, DayZ
cool.
is fun too.
Yeah, I don't have enough knowledge base about that subject matter to really have a conversation with it, but it's a very interesting topic for sure. I would sit there and listen. I listen to somebody who knows a lot about it. I just sit there if like I found a podcast on just that subject. I'd definitely listen to that. You know, that's an interesting theory. I'm not saying I believe it, but it really is interesting and fun to think about.
It is fun. My chief complaint with a theory like this is it falls under a very simple blanket. Infinite timelines, infinite possibilities. They're just like, there's a multiverse, so literally everything is possible.
So literally everything. Yeah, that's a good point. It's the modern day version of why we can't explain, like back in the day, thousands of years ago, why is the sky blue? Why is the sun hot? Why is it this? Why is it that? So they came up, it's gods. Everything is gods. Blankets all. Now it's multi-universe. Anything can happen. It's just the modern day version of that. That's probably a good point, Josh.
It's just true. All right, so number 3 kind of ties into number 4. It supports number 4's capability, and this is the one where Ron is going to talk for half an hour. This one, number 3, is called Where Is Everybody?
Do I get to guess?
Take a guess. Yeah,
the Fermi Paradox.
100% spot on. Number 3. Where is everybody? Also known as the Fermi Paradox. All right, so to people who don't do research in this kind of stuff, me talking about a multiple universe scenario where aliens could literally be from Earth because of the vast distances you would have to travel to get here seem unreasonable to us humans.
Yes.
Fermi Paradox really backs that fucking theory up hardcore. So I'll read my little short descriptor and then Ron, hop in whenever you want to. The Fermi Paradox, named after Italian-American physicist Enrico Fermi, is the apparent contradiction between the lack of evidence for extraterrestrial civilizations, where is everybody, in the Milky Way galaxy and the various high estimates for their probability. So we don't see them anywhere, but because the universe is so vast and so big, we know they're out there. Statistically speaking, they're out there.
Yeah, statistically speaking, of course, somewhere they're out there.
Plainly stated, there have been many attempts to explain the Fermi Paradox, primarily suggesting that intelligent extraterrestrial beings are extremely rare, that the lifetime of such civilizations is short, theoretically speaking, on a vast scale of the galaxy's lifetime, or that they exist, but for various reasons, we see no evidence of them. So the Fermi Paradox in a nutshell basically says the time and distance that it would take for one of these other intelligent civilizations to span the vast distance of space to make it to us, given our understanding of how physics works, is so great that they could not make it here in the time it would take their civilization to rise and fall, or ours to rise and fall. We should also, the other side of this coin is, we should also see remnants of old civilizations, because the universe is how old? 14.5 billion years, give or take a few 100 million. So 14.5 billion years. Given the speed of traveling at our speeds now, okay, so going 100th of the speed of light, which we can't even do that. But given our distances of travel with our speed now, it would take something like 50 million years to travel from one edge of the universe to the other, as we know it. Well, you could have done that 1,000 times over in 14.5 billion years. So theoretically, civilizations could have made it here and back a number of times, and we should see some existence of them out there, be it in radio waves, be it in large mega galactic structures, be it their presence even visiting Earth, be something. We should see something, but we see nothing. No evidence anywhere, hard, tangible, hands-on evidence. That's the Fermi Paradox in a nutshell.
Yeah, like we're too far away from everything for anything to ever actually make it here, given traditional travel that we're aware of.
Yep.
That's the thing. Travel that we're aware of, right? But, well, number one, so what if aliens, though, are on planets that circle Alpha Centauri?
Alpha Centauri is 4 light years away.
4 light years away.
Yes.
You know, if they could figure out a way to travel quarter light speed, they could have made it here.
Yeah, there's even a theory that we're about to launch, a microsatellite that is propelled by laser beams that will make it
can
Alpha.
Go a quarter light speed, right?
It'll make it there in like 25 years.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned quarter light speed, that this laser beam thing that they're talking about. But here's the thing. The Fermi Paradox says, okay, but here's the thing. The existence of life, intelligent life, the odds that it's right here around where we are, and then also 4 light years away at Alpha Centauri is 1 in like a trillion.
Right.
That there is life, actual intelligent life. Maybe once there was 1 billion years ago, or maybe there'll be in 1 billion years from now when we're not here anymore. But the odds are so, because even if there's life here or life there, it doesn't always line up right at the same, it would all have to line up at the same time too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so, it's such a, it's interesting theory because he's right. The probabilities of that are so slim. I guess the one thing that kind of, and if I may say literally, pokes a hole in it is that when Einstein talks about like kind of the the break of space-time continuum and kind of the wormhole.
Yeah.
Taking like, okay, you have a piece of paper, right? And here's the one end and here's the other. Takes you forever to get one here or there unless you take the paper and put it together. Then you're there instantly.
Right.
That would be the only way.
Also known as traveling without moving, as in Dune.
Yeah.
Spice.
So a wormhole, bottom line, a wormhole. Yeah, correct, you know what I mean? If some intelligent life could figure out how to manipulate and create wormholes to travel, they could go probably anywhere they wanted to and get there instantly. That would be it. And that is, I mean, obviously that would be so beyond our abilities to even, I don't know that humans will ever get there. Will ever be that smart. Maybe somebody else somewhere is, but that would probably be it though.
I mean, another piece on that too is signaling. And I don't remember where I first originally heard this number, so assume a level of inaccuracy for it, but no signal that we have the capacity to send has ever had the ability to go more than 4 light years away. That number, of course, it could be different, but let's just say I'm half, and it's 80 light years away. My point is everything that we know how to understand from a signal or wave perspective would have to come from no farther than Alpha Centauri.
Oh, you're talking about the whitewashing. So if we sent a radio signal out into space, by the time it reached Alpha Centauri, it would be garbled because of just radio wash that happens, because of light wash that happens.
It would just fall into the background microwave noise of the universe.
Yep.
You're
100% right. I don't know the distance where that ends. I've actually heard the Oort cloud, which is way closer than that.
Oh yeah, that's closer.
Yeah, the Oort cloud's like not even a light year out. In fact, our Voyager probe just made it past the Oort cloud.
That's impressive.
Do you want to know what they heard? You know what they fucking found? A gigantic wall of fire. And
really?
I'm not fucking kidding you. 100%
That's crazy.
accurate.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, at the edge of the Oort cloud, the first.
But what is it burn? A fire? What is it burning? Like, how is that possible?
What's about this? The space has got tons of stuff. There's tons of gases and particles. Space is not empty, my friend. Space is very, very, very compact with stuff.
Yeah,
especially in the Oort cloud because of the gravitational effects that are out there.
There's literally everything in it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the building blocks of the universe.
So it actually got past the Oort cloud?
It breached the Oort cloud and fucking got set on fire.
And this thing was, so it's done.
No, it's still going. It's still,
okay, so and this thing was launched in the 70s, correct?
I don't remember when Voyager went.
was launched. Voyager 1 reached there a long time ago. Voyager 2, which is the one that made it into the Oort cloud, December of 2018 is when that happened. It was launched in like 72 or something like that.
So it is now officially in interstellar space.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Interesting. Where is it headed? Center. One was headed towards the edge of the galaxy.
Boldly, where no man has gone before.
Yeah. One was headed towards the edge of the galaxy, and the other headed towards the center of the galaxy. Right. That's the directions they sent them.
I think so. What I would like to see though, and apparently we've got a few probes that are already out there, is I want to see the Lagrange points. I don't know if you've ever heard of these places in space. So there's multiple points with association to Earth and every other planet and large massive body that's out there. There are these points that are counterbalanced with gravity, where it's the proposed location also for the Artemis mission's space hub that's going to ferry up and down from the moon. Anyway. A Lagrange point is you got the sun, and I'm holding my hand up in the studio for our listeners. So you got the sun in the center of our example here. You have the Earth on the right side. Well, directly where the Earth would be, all right, almost eclipsed. And so you wouldn't see the Earth, you would just see the sun.
Yeah.
In the exact opposite rotation, or parallel rotation, just it's always on the opposite side of the sun, is a pack or a pocket of gravity that is completely nullified because of the amount of gravity the Earth is producing versus the sun on its exact polar opposite is a dead zone, where if you place an object in that Lagrange point,
yes,
it will never move unless the Earth moves. It will always maintain that rotational orbit with zero input. You don't ever have to counterbalance it with thrusters or boosters or fucking air jets or something. It will always stay in that Lagrange point and never, ever move. There's places like that around the moon, around every other location in our solar system that has a large body. So every planet has a Lagrange point or multiple Lagrange points that support them. I would like to see the Lagrange points for some parts of our solar system that are so far out where you can have good, stable orbits, so to speak, around the sun, but still have no necessity for energy to control their orbits just for their onboard mechanisms. I would love to see something from, like, data from those points, but Anyway, I digress. All right. So there's the Fermi Paradox.
Yes. It's always a fun...
It's heavy.
Fun one to talk. I love that one.
Heavy.
It's amazing how few people have even heard of that or know what that is.
Yeah. Well, we're nerds, so...
Yeah, that's true.
All right. Okay, Ron and Josh. The next two are the holy shit, I can't believe this is actually a thing. All right, so first things first, these are relatively recent. Number 2, and they kind of go together, but not really. Number 2 is from 2004, and number 1 is from 2017. So number 2 on this top 10 list is the Uss Nimitz Ufo Incident. Have you guys ever heard of this?
Nope.
All right, cool. This one doesn't have any... Number 2 doesn't have any audio to go with it. I'm going to play 2 clips at the end of number 1 for you guys to hear. But this is when shit gets like no shit real. This is no joke. So the USS Nimitz UFO Incident was a radar visual encounter of an unidentified flying object by a U.S. fighter pilot of the Nimitz Carrier Strike Group of 2004. The encounter also included an engagement with a UFO by Commander of Strike Force Squadron 41 and his weapon systems officer. The primary encounter occurred during a combat training exercise being conducted in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of Southern California on 14 November 2004, with purportedly related sightings occurring in the days before and after this encounter. 13 years after the incident, in December of 2017, infrared footage of the encounter was released to the public. No audio communications for this, just hissing. I mean, if there's a video that associates this.
I have seen this video. It was on like CNN, right?
Yeah, this was everywhere. Yeah,
okay.
There's 3 videos, and this is a little bit, there's no speculation here. The U.S. Navy, the U.S. federal government recognizes these videos as being legit. Mm-hmm. All right. Our government has now come out and said, yes. All right. These were originally leaks. These weren't to be released to the public, but they were leaked. And they were so fucking dead on accurate. Commanders' names are in these things. The radar systems that they use has all of the correct markings for the aircraft, the groups, everything that they're supposed to have in there. So these videos are legit. And if they were fake, they were so good that it really sent it up the flagpole big time. Well, so the government finally came out and said, yep, you know what, guys? We can't hide this. This is legitimately true. We're not happy that these have been leaked because that's a breach of our national security. However, they're out there now. So our government has now come out and said that these videos are real. And in the video, what you see is an interaction between not the object and the pilots of this vehicle, but you see the onboard camera and infrared systems that are tracking these objects moving through the sky. You see the clouds, you see the skyline in the background, the horizon line, whatever. And you see these things doing some maneuvers that are quite literally impossible for any conventional aircraft that we know of. And it's eye-opening, it's shocking, it's real. And that's the scary part.
And they were like right off the water too. You could like see water hitting this thing.
Yeah, there's one that actually dips underneath the level of the water and then comes back out with no visible wake or disturbance to the water, which some people theorize ties into the interdimensional part of that aircraft, is that they can phase between dimensions when about to encounter something in ours. So they can hop to their dimension real quick where the water might not be there, and they can hop back to ours when they want to be there. So there's interesting theories that are tied to that. We can't explain it. These are not, these are objects that are actual, tangible, no shit, real things that are out there. They're not ours. They're not any of our enemies that we know of, or our allies that we know of. They're doing things that are beyond the capabilities of physics as we know them, but they're real. Let that sink in for a second. They are real. There's no question. Now, I'm not saying they're aliens.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're fucking
just something beyond our technical capability that exists and that people have seen, and we have no idea where they're from.
That's exactly right. All right, so number 1, we're going to move on to the last one. This is called East Coast Go Fast Video. This is right off the coast of Florida, boys. This is bringing it home. We're bringing it home for number 1. And this has got some cool audio. There's actually 2 videos, or 2 audios clips that I'm going to play from videos for you guys. All right, so official U.S. Navy video of 2015 UFO encounter taken aboard a Navy fighter.
Taken aboard a Navy fighter jet from the nuclear aircraft carrier USS Theodore Roosevelt off the eastern seaboard near the Florida coast. Leaked in 2017, along with the news of Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program, hard to say that, I'm not acronizing that, was a video that revealed an encounter between an FA-18 Super Hornet and an unidentified flying vehicle. Seen along the east coast of Raytheon Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared, also known as ATFLIR, the craft was like that spotted off San Diego in 2004, the number 2. So it's very similar to the one in number 2. A fast-moving white oval, and you'll hear it referred to in some of the interviews if you look these guys up as a Tic Tac. So they say it looks like is a 45-foot Tic Tac. That's about it's the size. 45 feet long without wings or exhaust plumes. So one of the mechanisms that pilots can use when looking at objects through infrared is they can see the directional adjustments of the vehicle through the exhaust plume, which you can't see with naked eye, but you can see through infrared and through some heat signatures and things like that. You can see the exhaust. These things have no exhaust. There is no obvious propulsion that we're aware of that's making these things move, which is the most bizarre. Even drones have an air disturbance below them. So even if they're using props, even if it's battery-powered props, you have a jet wash from the prop that is blowing, distorting air below it. These don't have that, which is, again, something we can't explain. The pilots tracked the object at 25,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean as it flew away and simultaneously rotated on its axis. Again, impossible based on its speed, trajectory, and physics of today's understandings. No explanation ever emerged. To the STARS Academy of Arts and Science. Here is our tie back into this that I asked you guys about earlier. A group dedicated to pursuing research into UFOs and extraterrestrial life that was co-founded by rocker Tom DeLonge of Blink 182. He's the co-founder of To the Stars Academy. And a lot of people thought he went off the fucking deep end when he started doing this alien stuff, but now he's getting more recognition internationally because of this this To the Stars Foundation. They're the ones who leaked this video, by the way, and made the fucking Navy come out and say, yep, that's really our video. I'd love to know how they got a hold of it. They have maybe some real journalists working for them.
He helped to bring the attention to the videos. The 3 videos were posted by the TTSA and the New York Times in December 2017 and March 2018. So, I mean, that's the list. I'm going to play these videos for you just so you guys can hear this. And it's, again, keep in mind, this is kind of hard to hear because of what it is. It's communications between pilots, co-pilots, targeting specialists. There's a lot of codes, names that are being used. So it's military lingo. So you're going to hear stuff that's from the cockpit of an aircraft. So hang on a second.
Sickle 6-1, Roger. Roger. There's some troubleshooting. Did you box moving cars? No, I took an auto track. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, dude. Wow. Let's try.
All right, that's the first one. I know it's kind of hard to hear. If you watch that video with the captioning on, it makes a lot more sense. What they're saying is, "Woo, we got him." The first one's kind of hard to hear, but it's when they're using their infrared tracking system, the targeting system, to find this thing because it's moving so fucking fast, and then finally, bam! They lock onto this thing, and once it's locked on, it ain't letting go. It can hold on to it very well because it can mathematically project it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then they see it, and they see this motherfucker, and they cannot explain what they're looking at. Its speed, its rotation, its movement, and you see it in the video, so you can actually watch the video yourself and see the details too. This next one goes a little bit more in detail, so you can hear. Again, it's not long; it's only like a minute, but you can hear some of the conversation that they're having about it. Sorry about the noise. It's just, it's aircraft.
Dude, that is a drone, bro.
So that's a drone, bro.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA.
That ain't a drone.
Oh my gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude. That's not our LNS, though, is it? It's not. That is the LNS, dude. Well, if there's look at that thing. It's rotating.
Look at that thing. It's rotating. So when you're watching these videos, watch the object move in a way where aerodynamics as we understand them would be impossible. For the speed that this thing is moving and how it turns and rotates, it's still moving in its same direction, but it simply spins and rotates on its axis almost as if it's looking at them, which is kind of spooky in itself. And then it's gone. It vanishes. It is unbelievable to say in the slightest that it's nothing that any of our governments are aware of and can explain, which is the scariest part about it. But it's real. There's no question. It's real.
Very interesting.
That's so wild.
I don't know. What do we do with that?
We do nothing.
We do nothing. We go about our lives until one day, if and when it ever were to actually affect us, if it ever does.
We drink our beers. We do our little podcast, and that's about it.
Exactly.
I mean, what else can
knowing
you
that
do?
Whatever the hell these things are out there, we don't even know if they're quote unquote manned or not.
Yeah, no, we have no earthly idea.
Yeah, we have no earthly idea. We know.
Yeah. So the question of whether or not they exist or not, to me at least, and I know everybody has their own belief system, but to me, the question of whether or not these objects exist is there's no question. They absolutely exist. From the thousands of accounts to the thousands of hoaxes, there absolutely is something in our skies and in our waters that is not made by any of our governments, is not understandably built to match physics as we know them, and it's out there and it exists. And the scariest part is if they being the people flying these objects have the technology and the capabilities to create something that does this type of movements and just everything, they can be in our society and out of our society so fast, and we would have no capability of stopping them or even asking questions. To those people flying these things, we may be so insignificant. They may be here sightseeing, or maybe here, soaking up our radio waves, learning about our culture, learning about our society as they're just kind of dipping in and out of our existence. We don't know, and that's the scariest part about the whole thing, but also the most captivating. I mean, that tells us as humanity, there's something out there that could be greater than what we're envisioning for futures for all of mankind. So
yeah. So, question for you.
Shoot.
Do you think that the U.S. government or any major government, any major country is actually working with aliens? There's been a lot of talk of that the last months and year.
It's an interesting answer. I'm going to tell you yes, but I don't think it's by the choice of the aliens. So I do believe that that the U.S. government or governments around the world have captured or obtained alien artifacts, not meaning out of this world, but something that humankind, as we know it, didn't create or didn't engineer or develop, from another dimension or from another world. Whatever the case is, I believe that we do have technologies that are beyond us, and I believe that we don't understand them. The absolute explosion of micro computing, processing, fiber optics, just the technology leaps and bounds that have happened in the last 70 and 80 years. When you look at the grand scheme of evolution and how our culture is able to produce or progress, is something influenced us. And what influenced us, I think, is something that we discovered. I don't think it was something we invented. Granted, not taking away anything from any of the inventors because they're great, but I think something influenced our evolution as a society, as a worldwide society. And I don't think it was something that we did ourselves. So yeah, I do. I don't, but I think it's, to answer your question, yes, but not. And I don't think we've got a handshake agreement with some aliens.
No, there's no aliens.
I think we're benefiting off things we found.
Like we're not sharing. They're not like, hey, check this out. Hey, iPhone 4 just came out here. Try this. Don't release it until,
the aliens go.
Don't release it until 2011.
Tell them about 801.11.
Yeah, exactly.
Or 802.11.
Yeah. But because Snowden went looking for it, and I don't know if you knew he talked about.
Yeah, he talked about that on one of the interviews.
He said, he says.
In fact, the same person who did the Snowden interview, which is another podcast, go out there, you can find it. also interviewed the pilot, the lieutenant commander or lieutenant colonel that is in these audio recordings you just heard, that was witnessing this stuff. And that is a fascinating listen as well. So go check that out too.
Yeah. And he Snowden said, no, there's nothing out there. There's nothing. Our government isn't working with like you said, handshake agreement with some alien civilization and they're giving us technology. No, that is not happening. He went looking for it just, I guess, out of curiosity, and he had ridiculous access because part of his job was to have that access. He
had TSSCI clearance.
Yeah, it was more than the clearance he had, though. A lot of people have clearance. It's the access he had because of what his specific job description and what he was supposed to be doing.
He was what Josh and I used to do for a living, right?
No, I got you. He also,
not at the same level. We didn't have TSSCIs, but he was an administrator of the networks that held that data. The caveat to that is, and my only argument for any of the stuff that I've heard about the Snowden interviews is the arrogance that he has about the whole situation is problematic to me, because how those networks are set up is that just because you have the highest administrative level access that you can get and the best security clearance that the government is willing to hand out doesn't mean you're even on the same realm of existence where that data may exist. So you may be an administrator working for Department of Defense at the most lockdown facility in the world for CENTCOM or for whatever, but you won't see the stuff that sits in another data farm altogether for the government in another location. Those paths literally don't connect. So
that was part of his job, to create systems to connect them, which is why he had access to everything you could imagine. He was one of the few who did.
I appreciate the thoughtfulness of and the concern how you're approaching that. I don't mean to sound insulting, because I promise you I'm not, but that's the ignorance of the massive amount of people in the public when listening to somebody like Snowden. They don't understand there is nobody that has all the keys to the kingdom for all of the different networks that the U.S. government or all the world's governments have. There is no one person who can have God rights to everywhere and everything. If he is any installation, you pick an installation around the world for the government, for the federal government, give him the domain level God rights to that location, and he can only see what is connected to him there. Physically disconnected are hundreds of other locations that
I understand.
He couldn't see, even if he was the smartest guy in the world. He could not path through or route to.
He could only still have the systems that he was given, the right
physical access to.
Completely agree and understand.
So it's a little arrogant of him.
But even that was still probably more access than almost anyone had ever had.
I will concur to that, yes.
Yeah, so I just found it interesting, and we can talk about Snowden perhaps in a future show.
Yeah, I like that idea.
But I just found it interesting that he went looking for it, I guess, more of on a curiosity level, and just couldn't find any kind of indication that the government was, quote unquote, working with the aliens. Now, somebody will say, well, he still doesn't know everything. To your point, doesn't mean he knew everything, granted, but he like he said, it wasn't anything he could find.
Yeah, when I listened to his stuff, his stories, I was fascinated for the most part at his stories, but there was too many holes in several parts of his stories to be. But he can convince the massive amount of people that listen to him. So the most of the people out there would never even think about the thoughts that an IT guy might think that knows how the federal government is set up.
But what he revealed was real information and very informative, and then admitted later by the government, including Clapper.
I'm not challenging the data.
That the government is, monitoring and watching over 100 million Americans through data collection and storing that information and storing a file on it.
Cambridge Analytica, baby.
Yeah, through what we search on our phones and our, the internet, etc. So I just found that. But I just thought his point on the whole, to wrap it back to the alien stuff, I found that interesting. Doesn't mean that we're not working with aliens. I don't think we are, obviously.
I don't think we are either.
But your point that we have acquired some technology that's helped advance us since probably maybe Roswell, possibly, if that was actually the case.
That would be about the right time, which is ironic.
That would see the timing and the explosion of all of that.
Microprocessors of that capability.
Exactly.
I think that's about the time transistors became a thing. And that's what really shaped and formulated computers as we know them today.
So probably
the ability to have an on-off switch, a transistor inside a motherboard or inside a microprocessor.
Talking about punch card computers. I mean, we can watch the transition from us doing basic punch card calculations with gigantic machines all the way down to where we're at now. Like, we watched it get invented, scaled up for size and power, then scaled down. And you can see Moore's law from the beginning to where we're at now.
But
you don't think that it was a catalyst that changed the rate at which we invented new technology? And I used air quotes for invented.
I think no, I don't.
Okay.
And here's why. I think, like, when we first discovered how to manipulate the steam engine, there was a very short period of time where we said, oh shit, we have an output shaft. We can do all of these things with it now. And then it hit its line, its plateau of Moore's law for that technology, and it just kind of tapered off. And then you need something new and disruptive to carry on with. I think what we're experiencing now is just another one of those major breakthroughs.
It's an incredibly optimistic perspective on humanity in its whole. That's a cool perception to have too. All right, let's get out of here. Thanks for listening to Twisted 10. I am Adam.
I'm Josh. I'm going to do it. I'm Josh. And
I'm Ron.
Thank you for listening to Twisted 10. We'll see you guys next week. Want to interact with the hosts and other listeners of the Twisted 10? Simply go to twisted10.com and click on the Discord invitation.